Hello, everybody. This is BK International Talent Scout, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the Seattle Opera, The Life and Times of Malcolm X, which premieres in the Seattle Opera February 24th to March 9th, which means you can still check out the opera, a black opera, at Seattle Opera, Malcolm X. The name of the opera is The Life and Times of Malcolm X. I had a wonderful experience. And let me tell you how it all started. So, I take the podcasting class, right? So there was this big picture because we have our podcasting classes inside the Seattle Opera House conference room, and then on the next level is the King FM radio stations. So in our podcasting class, we got to record our interviews in the King 5 FM radio station. So in the big windows out front, I walk in, I turn around, and I see this huge poster of Malcolm X in a hat, in the glasses, suit. I'm so moved by it. I see this poster every day. And I go, man, I want to go see this opera. And I'd never been to a Seattle opera. And I was like, man, I really want to go to this opera. This was like last summer. So I would see this poster every week, and I would look at it and think about it. And then time went on, and guess what, you guys? It was time for the Seattle Opera X, The Life and Times of Malcolm X. So I just emailed my teacher. I said, man, I really want to go to the Seattle Opera play. Can you help me? And so they helped me. And then I got tickets to go see the play. It was an awesome experience, you guys. I got seats on the 5th row. And right in front of me was my friend Gail and her girlfriend. And so it made me feel like I was watching the opera with family and friends. So you gotta go see the Seattle Opera, The Life and Times of Malcolm X, February 24th to March 6th. Now let's get into the interview and the discussion and the communication. So hot off the press, Seattle Opera X, The Life and Times of Malcolm X events. There's going to be a conversation with Malcolm X's daughter, Ai Shabazz, Thursday, March 7th at 7 p.m. at the Renton IKEA Performing Arts. So if you want more information, go to seattleopera.org/Ai Shabazz, co-hosted by the Northwest African American Museum, the King County Library System. Malcolm X's daughter, Ai Shabazz, speaks about her father's legacy with Convergence Media, Tyra Ann Holiday. So this is a free event. If you want to meet Malcolm X's daughter, Ai Shabazz, she's going to be doing a talk on Thursday, March 7th at 7 p.m. at the Renton IKEA Performing Arts. And guess what? The talk is free. Bring your friends. Bring your family. Come listen to Malcolm X's daughter talk and share about her father's legacy. You might get to take a picture with her too. So come on out, guys. So, here we go. Seattle Opera, written by A. Davis, T. Davis, and C. Davis. X, The Life and Times of Malcolm X. It's a part of the Seattle Opera 60th year season. Isn't that amazing? So, oh man, I got to tell you about my girl. So there's another play that you guys got to check out called Stew by Zora Howard and directed by Claudine Nako, March 15th through March 31st at Contemporary Theater. It's going to be an amazing show. And guess what? It features one of our own. And this is a black play. X, The Life and Times of Malcolm X. Creating and celebrating 60 years. Let's get into it. The Seattle Opera is opening itself up to African American plays. And to let you know, the first Malcolm X opera was originally created in New York in 1985. But again, it's so exciting to see that the Seattle Opera is opening up its doors, its hearts, its stage to black operas, and not just black operas, black actresses in black operas, black actresses in non-black operas. So it is just so exciting to know that something so exciting is happening. So, let's give out some thank yous. I need to give out some thank you, guys. So, the season sponsor is Marianne Tangi and David Jones. Principal singer season sponsors Joanne Watchink in memory of Craig M. Watchink. Production sponsors Leslie Chaplin, Wyckoff and Paul Wyckoff, For Culture, the City of Seattle Office of Arts and Culture, Microsoft Corporation, National Endowment for the Arts, and the Seattle Opera Foundation. Artist sponsor Michael P. Thien, MD, Kenneth Kellogg, Malcolm. We are deeply grateful to you, Seattle's Opera's 3,600 annual fundraise donors. Your passion for opera and contribution at every dollar amount inspires great performances in McCall Hall and support engaging activities at the Opera City and throughout Washington State all season long. Thank you for supporting X, The Life and Times of Malcolm X, and Seattle Opera presentation. Wow. Malcolm X Community Advisory Committee members. I'll just read a couple of names. Pam Bridges, President of Washington Alliance of Black Schools and Educators. Erica Brown, Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle Young Professionals. George Count, MD, Seattle Opera Board Member. Seeing Good, Chief Impact and Learning Officer, Seattle Foundation. Tyra Ann Holiday, Producer of Convergence Media, LLC. Now, Tyra Ann Holiday will be interviewing and presenting a conversation with Malcolm X's daughter, Aisha Baz, on Thursday, March 7th at 7 p.m. at the Renton IKEA Performing Arts Center. So you got to be a part of that. Partner organizations included the Central Area Forum for Arts and Ideas, City of Tacoma, James A. Garfield High School Y Scholars, William Gross Center for Cultural Innovation and Enterprise, Loving Room, Adam C. Minnie Middle School Y Scholars, Northwest African American Museum, the Seattle Martin Luther King Jr. Coalition, the Thomas Jefferson High School, and Why Not, Why We. These are our partner organizations for the Seattle Opera X, The Life and Times of Malcolm X, The Life and Times of Malcolm X. Music by Anthony Davis. Lyrics by Fiona Davis. Story by Christopher Davis. The cast was incredible, you guys. The cast was so incredible. Malcolm was played by Kenneth Kellogg. The Street Elijah Muhammad was played by Joshua Stewart. Louise Betty Shabazz was played by Leah Hawkins. Now, I got to tell you, I met Leah Hawkins, who played Betty Shabazz. They had a question and answer period after the play. So if you go to the opera, stay for the question and answer, and you get to ask questions with the actors and the producers, and you get to take pictures. It's a really fun experience. So I got a chance to meet Leah Hawkins, and I had a word for her. Can you believe my prophetic gift? After it was all over, I waited and waited, and I talked to her, you guys. I talked to Leah Hawkins. I said, Leah Hawkins, when you were up there talking and expressing about being a black actor or a black opera singer in an opera, or a black opera singer in non-African American operas, what that was like, it was like the sky lit up inside my mind, and then it dropped down into my spirit. I see her acting. I see her in movies. And I told her my experience. She grabbed her heart. She said, "Oh, thank you for sharing that word with me. I'm so encouraged by that word. I've been talking to my girlfriend about going into acting and not just doing the opera thing." She said, "When I leave here and get back to my hotel room, I'm going to talk this over with my girlfriend." So Leah Hawkins talks to her friend, after every play to connect with family and friends. So it really warmed my heart that God would give me a word that would encourage her, encourage everyone. It was an incredible experience. You got to go see this opera because it's singing, it's dancing, it's talking. And it has a reader board at the top so that you can read along, so you can understand what's being sung, what's being communicated on stage. You can read along the top. Man, that just opened everything up. So, also, the dancers in the play portrays the angels in the play. And the dancers are throughout the whole play. It was so incredible. And the dancers are Jay Staten, dance captain, Doris Brown, Christopher Jackson, C. Young, and M. Calistine. Wow. So many people took part. Let's get to some good information. So, this Seattle Opera, The Life and Times of Malcolm X, music by Anthony Davis, lyrics and words by Fiona Davis, and the story by Christopher Davis. It premiered in New York City Opera, New York City, 1986. The Seattle premiere performances at McCall Hall at the Seattle Center are February 24th, February 25th, March 1st, 3rd, 6th, and 9th, 2024. Evening performances are at 7:30. Matinee performances are at 2 p.m. Acts 1 and 2 are 77 minutes. And intermission is 25 minutes. The opera is in English with English caption. That's what made it so beautiful, y'all. That this whole thing was done in English and it had English captions so that you could read along as you heard the singing and the acting. It just made everything flow so good. Let's get into the story, okay? Act by act, scene by scene. Let's get into the story, you guys. Are you ready? The story of the life and times of Malcolm X, a Seattle opera. Scene 1, 1935, in Lansing, Michigan. At the home of Reverend Earl Little and his wife Louise, a meeting is taking place of the local chapter of the Marcus Garvey Universal Improvement Association, and Reverend Little is late. Louise has been tense all day, and members of the meeting are all concerned about the active white supremacy groups terrorizing local people. Louise remembers past attacks that haunted her. A policeman arrived to say that Reverend Little was killed in a streetcar accident. The neighbors ponder what may have really happened, and Louise became distraught, sings to herself, and shortly becomes unreachable. A social worker comes to the home sometime later and declares that little children to be warded of the state. Malcolm tries to reach his mother, who does not react to him. She is hospitalized. His older half-sister appears to take him to her home in Boston. Scene 2, about 1940, Boston. Still very much a young country boy, Malcolm is introduced to Ella's middle-class black Boston. Through this discovery of the music there, finds himself in the local after-hours life with his guide, a character named Street. But as a young adult, he gets involved with some people who rob a wealthy home and he is arrested. Scene 3. It is an interrogation room. Malcolm reveals his anger over the troubles that have long plagued people like him. Act 2, Scene 1, 1946-48. Malcolm broods in jail when his brother Reginald comes to visit. Reginald tells him about Elijah Muhammad, leader of the Nation of Islam, whom his teachings he thinks will help his brother Malcolm begin to study the nation's teachings and to read many books. He becomes serious and more hopeful man. Malcolm X is born, thanks to his brother Reginald introducing him to the teachings of Elijah Muhammad of the Nation of Islam. In 1952, the jail recedes as Malcolm hears and then sees Elijah. It is as if the world, removed from bars, they come face to face. Elijah embraces him like a son. He tells him he has much to learn, to spread Allah's word, and sends him out to start temples. He is an electrifying speaker. That was so amazing that his brother introduced him to the teachings, and then Malcolm began to read the books which changed him from a criminal to a leader, to a speaker, to a world changer. Intermission happened. I was so excited at intermission that I went and I bought some grape juice and I bought a chocolate chip cookie, and oh man, I needed that refreshment. After intermission, scene 2, 1954 to 1963. Malcolm begins his ministry helping to find and found temples in Boston, Philadelphia, Springfield, Hartfield, Atlanta, and New York. The scene spans of the Civil Rights era and closes with an assassination of John Kennedy. Malcolm is seen speaking at various Harlem street corners. As time passes, he always takes the crowd. Scene 3. Malcolm warms to his task when speaking before more and more exuberant crowds and decries some of the peaceful protests in the South as Malcolm X defines his own political position. Scene 4. He leads an anthem declaring, "We are a nation." At the end, he is asked about Kennedy's death and makes a remark lacking in sensitivity to the nation's mourning. Elijah Muhammad, the leader of the Nation of Islam, was enraged. In Scene 5, a pivotal change. Scene 5 is a pivotal change. Malcolm and Betty briefly discuss his upcoming meeting with Elijah. They express the hope that their children will be free to dream without fear. Act 4, or Act 3, Scene 1, 1963. Malcolm is called to see Elijah, who is disturbed both that his spokesman for the nation may have put the organization in jeopardy and that he may have become too powerful for the Nation of Islam, too powerful for Elijah Muhammad. Malcolm is disparaged by other Muslims as he comes to the meeting. The nation is splintering into various factions. Elijah silences Malcolm for 3 months, and Malcolm consents to the will of his leader. Scene 2. Malcolm visits with his family, disheartened by the turmoil dividing his community and reporters hounding his every step. Betty hands him a ticket and tells him to go to Mecca, to spend time alone and find his way. He decides to simplify trust in Allah and ask for his help. So Betty Shabazz, his wife, gives Malcolm X a ticket to go to Mecca. Amazing. She says, "Go find yourself." So, Scene 2. Malcolm is in Mecca, dressed in the simple clothes of the Hajjah and awaiting word as to whether he will be permitted in as a convert and not a man born in Islam. The call to morning prayer is heard, and people there begin to go through the traditional motions of prayer, which are new to him. He watches as intimate and as others do their prayers and tries to learn their orthodox rituals. He has a larger vision of people across the world united together in faith rather than a single ideology. Scene 3, 1964-65. Just before the return to Harlem, a riot breaks out there. He returns, now a changed man, but outwardly the same. He is greeted by reporters who question him about the rioting. Scene 4. Later, he delivers a speech before his own newly formed group, the Organization of Afro-American Unity. He tells the supporters what he has learned in Africa and that we are part of a larger movement against the colorism and racism. He is warned of death threats. He is not concerned with the fear so avid around him. Scene 5. He arrives to give a speech at the Autumn Ballroom in Washington Heights in New York. After greeting his audience, he is gunned down by assailants. Wow. So that is the story and the acts of Malcolm X. Wow. So, hey, you got a chance. You're going to have a chance to meet Malcolm X's daughter. She's going to be doing a conversation on Thursday, March 7th at 7 p.m. at the Renton IKEA Performing Arts Center. Just go to seattleopera.org/Aya Shabazz. This is co-hosted by the Northwest African American Museum, the King County Library System. Malcolm X's daughter, Aya Shabazz, speaks about her father's legacy with Convergence Media's Taia Anna Holiday. It's going to be so incredible, you guys. It's going to be so incredible. I'm going to close this podcast down because it is 26 minutes and I need to share it with family and friends, and I hope you are encouraged. Again, Seattle Opera X, The Life and Times of Malcolm X, February 24th to March 9th. You still got time to go to the play. Go to the opera. We want you to have this black experience of a black opera at the Seattle Opera in McCall Hall. We want to see you there, and we want to hear about your experience. This is BK International Talent Scout signing off. So this will be on Facebook, YouTube, and X, which is Twitter. So, hey, we're just sharing the good news. Check out the opera, the Seattle Opera, Malcolm X. Please share with family and friends. This is BK International Talent Scout. And guess what, y'all? We'll see you next week.